Welcome to the Connectable podcast.
The Connectable podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
Not trying to brag, but I did get a new computer, and so I feel like everything's a little bit better. I can knock out these podcast episodes a lot quicker. I can edit stuff a lot quicker. I will say though, because this computer is bigger and it's actually a desktop, not a laptop, the angle that I'm sitting at right now, I have the closet behind me, which wasn't visible in my previous setup. And I feel your closet is behind you too.
It is.
This is like a race to see who's going to get taken out by some, psychopath. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. It's like those. I don't know. I forgot. I forgot what this was. This term was called. Was like people that stay in your attic, and they kind of just live there until you go to work or something, and they pop out, get food, and start eating, and you just like never realize that they're. I think it's called. Maybe it's not. I heard it's on their podcast, like frogging with a pH.
Frogging?
Yeah, with a pH. Like
I've never heard that before.
They literally just talked about it. It's like I said, I think it's with a pH, and it's where someone is just kind of in your house, kind of in an attic. I just looked it up, and it just says frogging is a person secretly living in another person's home. So
That's
it's like
terrifying.
you don't realize that they're in there until you have one of those like secret cameras that you pick up and put it on. And you see, oh, John's just been hanging out in my attic and sleeping. Taking my shampoo at night. So that's kind of what it feels like. If you see someone pop out, it's probably someone frogging in your house.
And they didn't realize you were going to be on a podcast tonight.
Yeah, no, that's bad situational awareness by them if they won't pop out now. But maybe they just want to see how big your reach is, and if they can get famous off your podcast, that's what they're going to want to do.
There you go. Maybe someone will feel bad for him. It's like, man, you don't need a frog anymore. Like, come stay with us. Here's the problem too. The fact that you could look up a definition of frogging and there's a definition out there with a specific spelling tells me that this happens enough where they had to come up with a definition. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think I don't know if it was based on this, but I think there was a big movie that came out that was kind of loosely based off of, and that's kind of that's where I heard it got started. But again, that's unverified. That was just kind of how they explained it in, like I said, the podcast that I listened to the other day.
That's terrifying. Not a fan of that. But so hopefully that doesn't happen to us. But anyways, as you guys can either tell by watching or hear, if you're just listening to the audio, Deb is not here. No, she has not been quiet this long. She's just not here. So today, we have a special co-host, emergency co-host, because our guest tonight had to reschedule. So we had to put out the bat signal, as they say. And Mr. Jordan Takimoto is here joining me, my brother. So thanks for joining, man. Thanks for when I say last minute, I really mean about 15 minutes ago, we said, hey, I said, can you do this podcast? And you're like, all right, sure. Always down to do it, which I appreciate. How's it going?
Good. Yeah. I think this happened a couple of times on your other podcast, the Character Combine podcast, where Deb kind of dips out and just doesn't show up. So I feel like if ZipRecruiter's out there and they're listening, I mean, you should probably sponsor the podcast, because Josh pretty soon could be, posting a job for a new co-host.
I could. You never know.
I don't get why they're not sponsoring you at this point. But yeah, no, it's good to be here. I'm glad you got me when I did. Like you said, it was last minute, and I did have a date with Matt James and the Bachelor ladies. So you're lucky. I think it was going to be one of the most dramatic episodes ever. So you're lucky you got me this time.
Yeah, spoken like a true pro. Chris Harrison would be proud of you. I have not watched it. We actually we definitely talked about this last time. We talked about a specific episode of The Bachelor with Juan Pablo.
How he Me Too'd the Earth, basically, or wanted to.
Yeah, he did without the Earth's permission, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I used to watch it a little bit. I'll catch it here and there when my wife watches it, but it's such a funny thing when you think about, and this is the case for any reality show, I think, when you look at where they started. So like, if you look back all the way to when Survivor first started, it was like the most groundbreaking thing, right? Like, you're putting all these people on an island and they're doing these challenges and they're living off the earth at that point. And It's the biggest crazy, not like Juan Pablo.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
He wasn't really living off the earth. He was doing something different or wanting to do something different. But the same thing with The Bachelor. I think when The Bachelor first came out, The Bachelorette, it was like this groundbreaking thing. And now it's just like a normal show that's been on for forever, right? And no one really thinks twice about it. It's like, oh, who's The Bachelor? And then you expect just ridiculous drama. Like I said, to the point where when you say it's the most dramatic, episode yet, like that was something they used to kind of pique everybody's interest. And now I think everybody knows, including them, that this is kind of a silly thing to say.
To the point where like Chris Harrison at the end, kind of that last second to last episode where he kind of hypes it up, he kind of almost mockingly says it, like, hey, really, it's literally dramatic this time. I know I lied the other times before, but this time it's for real.
Right. Yeah. It's a weird show. It's a weird show, especially now because everybody knows what it is, right? So when people are like, I didn't expect it to be like this, it's like, but this show's been on for such a long time. I think you did. And now it's sometimes when I watch shows like that, I'm trying to figure out who's genuine and who's not. That's kind of becomes the game for me. It's like, is this person? No, this person's here because they're trying to, get their 15 minutes of fame. And it's like, this person I feel like was fooled into doing the show because they seem like a pretty genuine person. And it's like they're the one that's not in on the joke. Kind of like, remember Joe Schmo?
Yes, yeah, I do. That's a throwback. That's like, I don't even know. What was that, 2005? I was pretty young.
Yeah. I think that was probably around 2004, 2005. That was a ridiculous concept for a show. But then you pointed out this a little while ago. There was actually some pretty big names on the cast of the show. So anybody who doesn't know, the idea of Joe Schmo was a reality show similar to like The Real World or Big Brother, where everybody's in this house competing, but one person, like the first season, there was one guy that was not in on it. He was actually there thinking that he was competing on this reality show, and everybody else was a hired actor to go play along and try to fool him. And I think you had mentioned that to me a little while ago, where was it Kristen Wiig?
I think it's either Kate McKinnon or Kristen Wiig. One of those. I think it was like a blonde Saturday Night Live comedian, and like it's kind of weird looking back because it was one of those articles like, oh, look at what they did in their past life, and that I think you're right. I think it's Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Before she was Cheetah in Wonder Woman 1984, right. She just kind of an extra on this reality show, just kind of screwing with this guy.
Right. Which was such a weird show, but I actually watched that one. I don't really watch reality TV. I don't enjoy it now, but I did watch Joe Schmo, and it was just such a bizarre. It was basically like the Truman Show, but for just a reality show instead of this guy's real life. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, that was definitely, I think, because we didn't really grow up a ton of reality shows, but
The Mole,
that one, and then The Mole. I think those were kind of the ones of when I was really young that we kind of all watched as a family, just because, like you said, it was kind of a novel idea to kind of do all of that stuff. And I still think, I think The Mole would work today. I still think that would be a pretty cool concept if, you could pull it off, definitely.
I wish they would bring it back because I agree. We've had this conversation plenty of times. I think they could bring The Mole back, and that would be an awesome show. What's crazy to think about too is Anderson Cooper was the host of that before he was doing all of the, was it CNN stuff he's doing now? Is he on CNN? Whatever news channel he's on. He was the host of The Mole. It's like all I knew of from. It's like, oh, it's Anderson Cooper. I still think of him as the host of The Mole. He'll never lose that.
Yeah, but, we don't follow politics. We just followed those 3 seasons of The Mole, and that's all we know.
You're absolutely right. But no, I used to like
him. Gray hair.
Yeah,
he's like 40.
That's right. That gray-haired dude from The Mole.
As a kid, that creeped me out. I don't know.
What threw me off because you don't like. I mean, I'm trying to think of people in our lives, whether it's family or family friends and stuff like that. I don't think I know anybody that was prematurely gray like Anderson Cooper
or a younger brother.
Okay. Yep. Go ahead. Explain that.
Yeah. So like, it's tough to notice because the kid's like 6'3", 6'4". But if you're sitting at like a dinner table with him or sitting down and he puts his head down, you'll notice on like the top of his head, there are a couple of really distinct gray hairs that pop out of his head. And he has this like really thick curly hair. So like sometimes it's really noticeable, especially if the sun hits it a certain way. Right. And it only seems like it's growing. So it's like at first it was like, okay, maybe 3 or 4 hairs that were gray. And now it's like a handful, 7, 8, 9, and it's just growing. And you know, that's something we always kind of give them a hard time about. And you know, when we were going to the same barber, could never tell us apart. So that was kind of the way I would distinguish. It's like, okay, so easiest way to do it, if you can't figure out by the face, the height, or anything like that, he has a patch of gray hair in the center of his head. And there's like, oh, that makes so much sense, you know. So that's always, you know, just anyone I know, like I said, he's like 6'3", 6'4", so most people can't see downward on him. But if you ever catch him sitting down, just, you know, ask him about it. We call him Touch of Gray. So
that's been that's been his nickname for quite a while. Yeah, and if the gray hair continues to move in that path down the center of his head, he's gonna start looking like a James Bond villain. You know what I mean?
yeah, he looks like a male version of like a Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, yeah, just minus the dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he instead of collecting dogs, he enjoys going to the gym. So it's a little different, but yeah, the gray thing there, he's gonna love that. Luckily, I don't think he listens to the podcast, so it'll be fine. And you know, if he did, it's nothing we wouldn't say to his face. So thank you, Touch of Gray, Justin, for that podcast content. What was I saying? You know, going back to the mole though, the funny thing about the mole was, and I used to like the first season they did it, they said that, hey, be on the lookout for clues throughout the episode. The clues could be anywhere. And they made a big deal about there being clues that would help you figure out who the mole was. And again, I don't think we explain it. So anybody who's not familiar with what the mole is, again, it's a competition game show, reality show where they're all competing. And there's, you know, at the end, obviously at the end, there's going to be one winner and you're trying to figure out who the mole is. So there's one person within the group that is trying to sabotage things. Their goal is to sabotage things and throw people off the scent, and then obviously get to the end of the game without anybody knowing who the mole is, right? And so it's like an espionage game. It was a lot of fun.
I think for like younger people, I've never played this game, but I think it's similar to that new game. I think it's new. It got really popular, that Among Us game where you're playing online and you're trying to
right.
I think it's similar to that, but it's just, you know, reality TV.
Right, and you're doing kind of like Amazing Race meets not really Survivor, but you know, you're just doing these competitions against each other. And like I said, you're trying
to raise the most money.
Right, exactly. And then you have obviously the mole is trying to sabotage that as much as possible, but they don't tell you until the very end. But like I said, at the beginning of each episode, they said, hey, make sure you look out for the clues because there's going to be clues throughout the show that's going to help you know who the mole is. And so we were like really into it that first season, trying to look for all these little clues, like where could it be? And then they reveal where all the clues are at the end of the season. It's like, oh, you mean in like the very background, like in a print that's like 3 or 2 font and upside down. And if you like close one eye and then turn your head to the side, you can see it. That was the clue. No one was going to get those clues. It was ridiculous. But we tried the first time and then we didn't care.
Yeah, it's like, oh, on the episode 3, if you track the latitude and longitude, you can find this person's social security number. It's like, okay, that, you know, it makes you feel stupid. But again, it's like, how are we supposed to look for that sort of thing?
Yeah, and they did it every season. They thought this was a really cool thing. And who knows though, but you look at like you and I were a big fan, or we're still big fans of that show, Mr. Robot. And I know it was a really well-received show by critics. Wasn't the most popular show by fans or by, you know, like a mass group of people, but they would do stuff like that, right? Where they would have these little Easter eggs and these things throughout the show. And then you'd have these super fans that would slow stuff down frame by frame, or they would, you know, zoom in certain areas. And then they would pick up and put together all these pieces that would help them figure out what was coming next. And then you and I would just go to, you know, Reddit or some blog posts where you would like basically benefit from all of their hard work. But maybe now, like maybe now finding those clues on the mole would be easier. You know what I mean? For people like that, I still couldn't. I'm not that smart. I could never find it. But you know, maybe it's a different game now. I don't know.
I don't think so. I still think they'd find a way to.
I think so.
Put it past like laymen like you and me.
I was trying to give them some credit, but you're right. I think they would still, you know, figure out a way to just make us all feel dumb. But what else, do you watch other reality shows?
Let's see. I do like the dating ones. That just makes me feel better about my life. So I think my favorite by far is the Netflix one, Dating Around. That's by far my favorite. But any of those other dating ones, so Love Is Blind, I watched.
That's timely too. Sorry, not to cut you off. That's pretty timely because this is going to air right after Valentine's Day.
Okay, yeah, no,
So if
like
you
I
guys
said,
are looking for something, to
I,
make you feel better
Netflix.
or worse about your Valentine's Day, these are some good options.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, I can't get enough of that stuff. So, like I said, Dating Around, definitely my number one recommendation. Love Is Blind, it got popular, but probably wasn't my favorite. Um, and Temptation Island, that one's coming up, and that one's by far the trashiest. But I tell people like, hey, I'm pretty locked into my job, so like eight to five, I use a lot of brain power. After once I'm off the clock, I want kind of to live vicariously through these people. So I kind of want trash, and that's basically what I want. So those are definitely kind of the ones I stick to for the most part.
There you go. I'm glad you said Temptation Island because we had a long conversation about this the other day. Not meant for the air, but we did have a good conversation. It's like one of those brother conversations. You know what I mean? Not for this podcast, but it was a good conversation. I don't watch the show, but you explained it pretty well, and we basically thought of some people that we know personally that would be on that show.
Yeah, like you said, we probably shouldn't bring that up. Like you mentioned on your last episode, we got in trouble last time I was on. So we're not going to talk about teachers. We respect and honor teachers here. We're not going to mention anything about them.
No,
We don't want anything off-putting on this podcast. How dare we?
which I just want to point out we did. We were very respectful to the teachers that we knew on the last time you were on this podcast, but in general, probably it went a little bit, went south quickly. That was the first thing we talked about on that podcast too.
I know, just kind of, that's what you do. You just run up and punch you in the mouth, and see who sticks. But I can't remember what you said. I can't remember what you asked actually.
I don't know. It's probably for the best. It was just reality shows. Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't get into it. Like we've had this conversation before too. I just can't get into reality shows. Like it's just never been interesting to me. But that being said, though, I don't really watch that many TV shows either.
You're kind of anti TV, and we give you a hard time because like it's a lost cause trying to recommend stuff to you. Until recently, I don't know. We kind of got worried about 3 months ago. We thought you were like terminal. You start taking everyone's suggestions. You basically summed up my taste in culture by saying I have very highbrow opinions with lowbrow tastes.
Yeah, I've said that for quite a few years.
There's something that I mentioned, and you're just like, oh yeah, I'll take a look at that. You start watching a recommendation from our younger brother who has questionable taste. So we honestly thought you were dying for a couple months there because it's like, who's this guy? Why is he taking our TV recommendations? He only watches Justified and any spin-off series that would come in the future revolved around Justified. So
I do love Justified. It's my favorite TV show ever. And the show that our youngest brother recommended was Yellowstone, which I'm glad I jumped on board with that one because that's a great show. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that, but it's a really, really good show that I would definitely recommend. Yeah, I was trying to think. I can't remember the last time I watched a show that you recommended. I think I tried to give you credit for a couple, but then the more we talked about it, I think they were shows that we decided to watch at the same time. So I couldn't even give you the credit. I know the one thing we joke about quite a bit was back when I was living at home, I was in my room and I was watching Mad Men, which is a critically acclaimed show, one of the best shows in quite a few years, right? And you were making fun of me. And then all of a sudden the next day I realized it sounds familiar. And I realized you were watching Mad Men and you got hooked on it. Now it's potentially one of your favorite shows ever.
Yeah, it's
top five show ever. And so I like to give you a hard time where, oh, that's weird. Cause you were making fun of me when I was watching like Mad Men. Why are you watching Mad Men set in the 60s? Ad Men? This is stupid. And then we started watching together. And I like to point out as well, anybody who's seen Mad Men knows that one of the best episodes that Mad Men ever did was called The Suitcase. This clown that's on the other end of the Zoom call with me, we would binge watch it together when I was living at home. We would watch, 2, 3, 4 episodes in a row and stay up until 2 or 3 watching this show. And we stopped the night before. And at this point, I didn't realize, what I had missed. But when I got, home the next day and kind of around the time we were going to start watching it, I found out that he decided to go ahead and he watched an episode without me, which was very disrespectful. And it just so happened to be he watched the suitcase episode without me. Again, one of the best episodes they've ever done. And I was just left in the dust. Like, I hear people talking about the suitcase. Like, what is the suitcase? What's in the suitcase? I'm asking all these stupid questions because I didn't see it. And Jordan decided to watch it without me. So, there's that. Not that I hold a grudge against you, but.
No, you just bring it up every single time we talk about the show. I don't have a comment. I think what I need is any married couples that are in a similar situation. I need the offender to defend me because I don't. It was wrong, and I don't know how to defend me, but I know that there are people that will defend me because I know this happens a lot with married couples. So I'm going to ask them to defend my honor, defend me on my behalf.
Yeah, don't follow him down this road, people. Like, it sounds like if you're about ready to defend him, you're probably in enough trouble already. Don't follow him down this path too. And see, that's the thing. We're not married. We're just brothers. So I can only hold so much against you. It's like, hey, you douche. Why'd you do that? One day when you're married, you're gonna have to learn from this. Basically what I'm saying is I'm trying to help you right now. One day when you're married, don't do what you did to me on the suitcase because it's going to end very poorly for you.
Right. It's what's that saying? Like the first soldier through the walls the bloodiest. So now we got out of the way. We know kind of boundaries and what I can't do watching a TV show. So
yeah, you ran through that wall with a bloody suitcase. Screw you, man. That's all I'm going to say. I'm done with this. I'm done with this topic. Hey, we're gonna go through your Twitter again because that was fun last time. I don't know if you enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it. Also, I want to point this out. I know I've said this to you off air, but I want to say this on air as well. People really enjoyed your episode.
Oh, I'm glad. Like I said, except for the select few I heard from, I'm glad. Because if I'm going to embarrass myself and spill my guts, quite literally spill my guts. For so many people, you kind of want it to be worthwhile because I did get a couple responses. One in particular where it was, a guy I know, and he said, "Oh, you're disgusting."
Shout him out, man. Shout him out. He'll listen to this episode.
It's Alex Nauman.
There you go.
One of my guys from high school, and then like 5 minutes later, he's like, "Oh, you're even more disgusting," and he just kind of kept going. So, I'm not surprised it had that impact on people, but like I said, I just hope it was worth it in terms of downloads because I kind of was very vulnerable in that moment with kind of my my medical history and sickness, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but I think that just goes to show that you have a lot of self-confidence because you're willing to share those things, or you'll do anything for the laugh. I don't know. Again, I said it last time. You kind of live the life of a comedian because some just crazy stuff happens to you. So either way, go ahead.
Also, later in that text message, I didn't want to bring this up because it was something. Knowing you and Deb, it like people who really know you, it was kind of jarring to hear this. But I guess if you come in blind that episode that I did, you wouldn't really know. He thought you and Deb were married.
Oh. That's very funny. No, that, believe it or not, Deb and I have done, over probably close to 120, no, definitely over 120 episodes between this podcast and the Character Combine podcast. Go check it out. It's a good podcast. But that has not once come up. That's funny.
Yeah, like I said, just knowing you two, and I don't know her that well, but it was just like, It's just not something that crossed my mind that people would even think that, just because I'm so close to you. But it was like, oh, I guess if no one, you don't introduce Deb, I don't think, and in every single episode. So it's like, oh, I guess if you don't know either one, you could make that conclude. It was just weird, and
that's funny.
I think if Deb listens to this, she probably threw up in her mouth.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I can't because I'm on video, but yeah, no, she definitely did.
Yeah,
that's very funny. No, well, that actually reminds me of a funny story that's similar to that. So there was a guy. So anybody who doesn't know, my wife Rachel, we met at church at a youth group, and so we got to know each other through there. And so for a period of time, we would meet at on Sunday mornings. There was a friend of ours that we would meet with at a Starbucks and just talk a little bit and then head to church later that morning. And, we just didn't, think anything of it. But at the time we were dating, and we gave this guy a ride to the Starbucks, and then we gave him a ride back when we were going back to church. And, not thinking anything of it, we're walking from my car to the church, and Rachel and I were holding hands. Later, I found out once Rachel was going off to kind of do her own thing, and then I was walking with this guy. He looked at me, he's like, man, he's like, that's your girlfriend? I said, yeah, that's my girlfriend. I was like, I could have swore I've introduced her as my girlfriend before, but maybe not. And he's like, I thought it was your cousin. He's like, but then I saw you guys holding hands, and I got really concerned. I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense. No, she's definitely not my cousin. I love my cousins. Don't hold hands with them. And yeah, this is my girlfriend, Rachel. So that kind of stuff happens all the time. You know what I mean?
Okay, can we do story time real quick?
Please, that's why you're on here, man. We don't have, if anybody hasn't figured this out by now, I did not come on this podcast planning to talk about, reality TV shows and all of that stuff. So like I said, this is an emergency guest hosting situation. So the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, because I kind of, you told me to prep a couple weeks ago, just in case I'm on another time in a situation like this, prep for a couple stories. So I had 3. We don't have to get through all of them. And this one by far is the most, if we're going to talk that last time was off-putting, this is going to be off-putting. So I need you, I'm going to trust you. Just like I send some tweets to you, and you have to not edit them, but just edit for content and make sure nothing's too inappropriate.
Do we need to talk about how that process works sometimes too? Sorry to interrupt you, but sometimes he'll send me stuff. I'm like, this is not a bad tweet at all. You should just send it. And then I see stuff on Twitter that he didn't send me. I'm like, that one you probably should have sent me first if you're worried about the content and whether or not that was appropriate.
Okay. Well, beyond that,
Go ahead.
This I'm trusting you in that if you think this is too off-putting, I need you to cut it. And I'm going to protect the people involved, and I'm going to mix up names, mix up not relationships. The entire story is true. I'm just going to mix up the identities and all that sort of thing.
Do I hold on? Do I know this person? Do I know this story?
Yes. And It's by far one of the craziest things I've ever been told.
Okay, I just need to prep myself because that way I don't accidentally slip. So go ahead.
No,
I'm not. I'm not cutting this, by the way. If I don't have to edit, I'm not cutting it.
Okay, you might need to. Like I said, I don't want to get in any more trouble.
Actually, you're right. There is a couple of situations where I would need to cut it. Go ahead, continue.
So I knew. I'm gonna say just within the last 7 years, I was talking to someone, and again, I'm not gonna say where I talked to this person. But I was talking to this person, and she was married. She was probably about your age, maybe late 30s. And she was telling me, we were talking, and something came up about how hot her mother-in-law was. So she was about, I don't know, 50, mid-50s or something like that. And so I wasn't sure where this was going. This is kind of just a weird conversation. I wasn't sure she was trying to set me up. Like, what are we talking about? Is this like an Elizabeth Hurley situation? And it's like, so it just got very weird. So she was kind of explaining, she's like, yeah, dude, just like this, my mother-in-law so much. And my husband has a really tight connection with my mother-in-law, obviously. He's a big mama's boy. I'm
not cutting this. Go ahead.
And so it was during I think one of the holidays, so I don't know, it was like 4th of July or Christmas, and the mom who lived in another state came down, and they stayed with them for the holiday. The lady had a kid, and oddly enough, the lady named the kid after the dad. So let's just call the 2 characters Senior and Junior. So she's just saying, yes, like their relationship is like really tight. I was like, okay, that's not that strange. He's a little old, but it's just really tight. And it's like, it's just a power struggle. I'm just really struggling with this all. And so she's like, yeah. The other day, we were sleeping in the same bed, and all of a sudden, Senior came and left the bed and went to the mom. It's like, okay, that's not weird. I mean, the Junior's like, a toddler. So that's not that strange to go sleep with grandma. I think kids get scared. And she's like, oh no, you didn't hear me right. I said Senior. Wait, okay, time out. So I need to get this straight, because this is a very big difference in your story. So you're saying Senior, your husband, in the middle of the night, gets out of your bed with his wife and goes to sleep with his mother. And she said, correct. At this point, my mind is just blown. Like, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a scumbag who just is trying to look like a nice guy. I'm trying not to laugh because this is the most ridiculous thing to picture. Mid to late 30s man.
Jeez. You're better than me. I couldn't have done it, I don't think.
Crawl like you know, I'm sure all of us kids have done that at some point. You get scared in the middle of the night and crawl in bed with mom.
Right.
Not a 30-year-old crawling in bed with apparently
No,
hot 50-year-old mom. Like there's some
that's the
like
problem.
there's some real Bates Motel stuff going, and it's like you can't say this to the woman because they're married and it's like a committed relationship, but it's like I don't know if there's a bigger red flag than dude that gets out of bed at 2 o'clock and goes to sleep with mom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a pretty big red flag. And I think what makes that story worse is that she had to preface the story by saying that other dudes find the mom attractive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that makes it worse because then when you start hearing the story and you hear how it goes, like your mind automatically goes to the worst place possible. Right? Is that fair to say? Mine did when you told me that story the first time. And yeah, that's an awful situation. You're right. Red flag for sure.
And you know, I don't say this for shock value. It's just honestly the strangest thing I've ever heard in my life, and it may or may not be confirmed by a handful of other people that story was also relayed to them, and the facts line up. You know,
Sure.
because again, like you have to ask someone that a couple times, like, okay, so walk me through this one more time. Give me the timeline. Senior sleeping with mom.
Yeah, not good. Not a good situation. Yeah, that's right. I do remember that story now. That's a good one. It's creepy, but it's good.
Right, and like I said, that's probably the most off-putting one I have. So why not, you know,
Yeah,
to just share it.
start off with that one. I like it. I'm glad you shared that. No, that's yeah, that's not a good situation. And again, maybe we don't do polls on this show. We don't put out polls to get questions and stuff like that. But maybe we should. Does this sound weird to everybody that's listening to this show? I would hope so, but
Maybe I'm in the wrong. If I'm in the wrong,
maybe we're
feel
both
free
in
to
the wrong.
DM me, and you know, I'll apologize. But
Right.
someone tells me, someone tells me I'm on the right side of this one.
I think so. I think most people are going to agree with you that is pretty creepy. So, what other stories did you have?
Okay, so in honor of Valentine's Day,
All right.
this one is not gonna put our younger brother in good light. So it was his freshman year. So I was a
Oh.
junior, and I was a junior. He was a freshman, and you know, it was one day after school. It was during I think it's called the switch dance, where the girls asked the guys to dance.
I guess Sadie Hawkins. Yeah, but at our high school, that was what they called it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we just weren't dance people. I think he got into it later on in his high school career. We just weren't. It wasn't really our thing. So I was driving him at that point to and from school. So I know one day, like that first day of the week of Sadie or Switch Week, it was a Monday, and he was taking a really long time to get to the car. So I was just kind of waiting. I was texting him, no response. And all of a sudden, you see from across the parking lot, he has one of those Mrs. Fields heart-shaped cookies.
Yeah.
And he just knew me as a person and that I would roast him.
Right.
Because that's just how brothers do. Like, it's not even right. Like, you know, no one ever asked me to switch. So it's like, really, if you look big picture, who's the loser? Me, because women hate me. Whereas he got the attention from this. She seemed like a very nice girl, and everything. But so he looks bummed out because he knew I was just going to roast him for the 15-minute car ride. He gets in and he just says, "Okay, I don't want to talk about it." It's like, okay, that's not going to happen. So we just keep pestering him. We get home, and that's basically what dinner conversation is. I you know, pretty quiet at dinner table, but I just say, hey guys, Justin got invited to the switch dance, and so he has to explain this entire situation. Well, you know, long story short, there was a miscommunication, and they decided not to go. He basically said, hey, I'm not interested. Again, we're on the girl side. It wasn't a cool move to do. However, a couple weeks later, me and my mom were in a department store, just kind of shopping around in a mall. And all of a sudden, I just see this mom and her daughter just glaring at me.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, turned to my mom and whispered, like, hey, do you know that lady? Why is she glaring at us? Like, I have no clue, but like, they're definitely like, they look like they want to kill you. And it's like, I don't know. Oh, and it just hits me. Like, oh, that's the girl from high school that gave him the Mrs. Fields cookie and that he denied. I believe the night before the dance, so she couldn't even find a replacement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, they think I'm Justin, and that's why, that's why they're giving me the death stare. And it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
it was the worst because, like I said, we were in line a long time, and so we was kind of just shooting daggers at me with her eyes, and it was brutal.
Oh yeah, no, I remember you guys telling us that story and how uncomfortable it was. Yeah, that's we enjoy that story. Our youngest brother hates that story, but I really enjoy that one. And a part that you didn't mention that I always like bringing up, and I get there's not much he can do about it at this point, but I do like that when you every time you would like go into the kitchen and you would look at that cookie, there's chunks missing. So he was still eating the cookie that was given to him as the invite or the hey, will you go to this dance with me? And I just can't imagine that cookie tasted the best to him. Like there had to have been some guilt in every bite, right?
You'd think, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I felt like it was funny. You'd see him eating the cookies, like, oh, you're not going with her? No, nom 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 nom, and just taking chunks of the cookie that he gave her. And those are delicious cookies. So, that's got to hurt. I wonder if she still thinks about that. She's probably still. I mean, she's probably doing bigger and better things now. But I imagine that anytime she passes a Mrs. Fields, that little memory does pop up in her head.
I'll tell you what my mom still thinks about it, because every time that story brought up, she feels so bad. And she's like, are you sure you don't want to send like a message to her just apologizing? Because you're the biggest scumbag of the family because you did this to this poor girl.
Yeah. That's that's the price of, like I said, he was a lot more popular than we were. So that's the price of fame, I guess. You get put in those awkward situations. What can you do? I remember I went through a phase in elementary school where I feel like these, especially like first through third grade, I feel like these girls that used to like me were the girls that were a lot tougher than I was. You know what I mean? Like the girls that like struck fear into people. Like I just remember there's a couple of it, and I was pretty skinny back in elementary school and all the way through high school. But I just remember these girls were like these like tougher looking girls, like the girls that you like knew the week before got into a fight with someone and beat someone up. And I just remember a couple of times where it's like they just had these crushes on me. It's like, I feel like I'm terrified and I'm not sure what to do, because I feel like if they approach me and I don't show enough interest, they're going to beat me up. If I show too much interest, then I'm stuck in a relationship that's going to be horrible for my health. You know what I mean? I don't know what that was. I don't know if you had those situations, but I had those a couple of times, and it's like, I don't know why. I feel like I'm a nice guy, and maybe that was the thing. Maybe because I was a nice guy and I treated them nicely. They thought, hey, this dude's pretty cool. But yeah, I just remember a couple of them was like, oh, you're always in the principal's office for beating people up. Why me?
No, yeah, I don't have that.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Like I definitely with girls, I definitely peaked in like fourth grade, where it wasn't like you. It wasn't like the tougher, rougher ones. It was like usually the popular ones. And the issue was like around middle school when dudes start getting muscles and abs. There's like, oh, we don't want to hang out with the husky kid that is super quiet. So like that kind of killed me. Whereas before elementary school, no one really has muscles. It's like, okay, the husky kid is he's fine. He's quiet enough, and not a complete moron. So that's kind of where I lost him when dudes start getting biceps.
Yeah, I will say though, there was a couple kids I went to elementary school that did have some muscles, and it made, like, looking back, it's like makes you just question. You don't want to say anything bad about their parents, but it does make you question a little bit what was being put in their food.
Like who's that guy? It's Todd Marinovich.
Yeah,
Marinovich situation where
it's like, hey, this kid has pecs, abs, like back muscles. Something's up here. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's like throwing everybody out of the ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. He's like just chucking everybody out of the ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese. It's like, I don't know. This guy has a mustache. Something's up here.
Yeah, when you signed up for Little League, you definitely had to check that birth certificate, because you never know.
Or like a Danny Almonte situation, or was that the movie The Benchwarmers?
Right.
Yeah, the dude from, I think it was from Cuba.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys. I'm like, you know what? I'm not saying that we should drug test them before this baseball game, but maybe, because something seems a little off here. Did you have another story?
I think so, but I don't. This one might not even be as good. But I just have been noticing that a lot of people have been snowboarding, skiing lately. You know, you see on Instagram stories that's a thing. And I didn't have a ton of experience in the snow, especially growing up. But and I'm just like I said, it's a little bit of situational awkwardness where like especially new things, like I don't know how to act, or I'm not I think I adapt pretty well, but like that initial process is a little bit tough for me. So I went to a camp when I was about fifth grade, and it was a winter camp.
Yeah.
So we were doing a lot of sledding and that sort of thing, tobogganing, and that was the first time I've ever been to the snow, seen the snow. Like I said, it just wasn't that big of a deal to us. So, you know, my parents got me all kind of this new snow stuff because we really didn't have any. And what do you call those things? Like the pants that you put on?
Man, I'm blanking on the name. I know the name. I just can't think of it. But it's like those, like the snow, like the puffy overalls, you know.
It's essentially overalls.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so I was getting dressed, and you know, again, I didn't really know. No one told me. I think they thought, okay, this kid's pretty smart. Like he's smarter than the rest of his class. He can figure this out. I didn't put on pants underneath the overalls, so I was just rocking, you know, definitely warm socks. Probably at this point, it probably definitely transitioned to boxers. And then my upper wear, a beanie, something like that. So then, you know, we kind of have, you know, the snow day, and it's like, hey, I'm not gonna lie, I don't get the hype behind these snow pants. Like I'm literally freezing my balls off, and it's just like I don't get the hype, but whatever, you know, you guys are the snow experts. If REI sells them, like I'm gonna wear them.
Yeah.
And then basically we get back from the snow trip, and we're gonna go. We go back to the campsite where they have kind of like an indoor rec center where, you know, they had like an inflatable one of those slides. So then all of a sudden I see kids start taking off their overalls, and I see they're all rocking jeans or sweats under, and it's like, oh shoot, if I take my pants off, I'm just in my underwear right now. And like that's not gonna be cool. So for the rest of the day, like it wasn't like you could just go back and change. Like I had to sit in my wet, soaking, I'm just gonna call them snow overalls for the rest of the day, because I was just, you know, I was basically like Winnie the Poohing it. I had like my top and then underwear, and then the only thing stopping me from exposing everyone was the overall. So
right.
You know, like I said, I don't really like the snow at this point, and it's probably, you know, there's probably something psychological with me, A, freezing my balls off, and B, being embarrassed because, you know, everyone's looking at me like, hey, why is this kid still rocking his overalls? Like everyone else has their jeans or their sweats on.
Yeah. That's so funny. That actually, I'm gonna tell this story. I hope it's okay. If it's not, I will cut it for you, because that reminds me of a story when I was living at home. I was in our parents' bedroom. I was talking to our mom. And we were talking about something, and all of a sudden you hear Jordan running down the hallway. He jumps, like head first, slides onto our parents' bed right between us, because we're having this, you know, we're standing up having this conversation. He dives on the bed while his pants and his underwear get stuck to the bed, and he just slides.
I don't know why I come on this. This is just embarrassing.
I don't know, man. And so yeah, that is just his bare butt is out there. It's like, oh no. It was the funniest thing.
Yeah,
like I said, I can cut it if you want, but
no, that's fine.
Around the ankles.
So basically, I have exposed my butt, and you know, to my mom, my brother, you know, I don't even know. My front's hanging out. It's on her comforter. She had to wash that the next day because that's not what she wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not my proudest moment. Like, if my baseball, like, I wasn't a big head first slider. I wasn't really a slider at all in baseball, but they would have been so impressed because it was like a form slide. Like if I was sliding the home plate, it would have been dope. But
Yeah.
Fortunately with baseball, I had a belt on. So like I wasn't going to just, slide and just lose my pants.
Right. Yeah, no, it's just funny. Like I said, man, this kind of stuff just happens to you. It's like you were made for podcasting, this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't feel like that in the moment, certainly.
Sure. No, I bet. No, not in the moment. It's just embarrassing. But now, yeah, I don't know why it was just so funny because like I think you were just it was an impressive slide. I will give you that. It was very impressive, very, solid form. It looked like, when you see those old pictures of Pete Rose sliding head first into like home plate, very flat, very flat. And then also his pants were left behind. It was awesome.
Right. And we only want to start talking about like a rug burn on the front.
Yeah, no, we don't want to go there.
No.
So okay, anyways, because we'll probably wrap up pretty soon, but I wanted to go over a couple of your tweets because we did that last time and we had a good time with that. And so like I said, people really enjoy it, so we're gonna stick with what works. Bring Jordan back and look at his tweets. Let me see. Well, this one hits home because you and I have had many conversations about this, and I feel like we just need to bring this to the podcast. So people ask what I accomplished professionally in 2020. This is from early January of this year. People ask what I accomplished professionally in 2020. Excited to announce that I single-handedly was able to fill the 4-foot office recycling bin with empty energy drink cans. It's impressive.
Yeah, no, I did that because it's one of those black, I don't know, I think they had them in like a lot of schools, like those black, they're all black and they have the white like recycle on them,
Yeah.
and it's about 4 feet tall.
Right.
And it was probably, I had to work New Year's Eve, and so I got a Red Bull or something, and then I finished that, and then I rinsed it out, and I wanted to recycle it, and all of a sudden I just like there wasn't that drop. It just sat at the top. It's like, oh, how many this is all my Monsters, Rock Stars, Red Bull, and it really just did fill the top, and I was shocked because I don't know how often they empty that out, but I don't know. I was impressed by it. So
That's pretty impressive.
I get that, sugary soft drinks are not the most popular thing right now. So I definitely got some heat from some people. Most recently, my dentist. Shout out to my 2 cavities.
Hey, shout out to Patty.
Yep, shout out to Patty, the bearer of bad news. That's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was just impressed because, like I said, everyone was talking about how they got promotion. It's like I can't speak for that. I can speak for 4 feet of our
aluminum glory.
Yeah, Rosa Monsters. So
yeah, and that's what I wanted to get to because we've had conversations. So because we go to the same dentist, and I had a few cavities a couple of years ago. My first cavities ever in my 32 years of life. So that was a bummer, but it was bound to happen because I was, especially when I was working every day for the character combine, I would drink a lot of Monsters. And so not a good thing. I know that. And so when I had these cavities, the dentist was saying, she's like, hey, do you you eat a lot of candy? It's like, check. I do. And she's like, do you drink a lot of energy drinks? I said, yeah, that's probably the biggest culprit. Yeah, jackpot. That's what it is. And so she's like, well, if you're going to drink them, she's like, I get, they taste good. If you're going to drink them, I would go with the sugar-free version. Probably wasn't her best advice to me specifically, because I don't think she doesn't know me that well. Like we've known her for a long time, but she doesn't know me that well. I heard that. I'm like, well, game on. I guess I'm good to go with sugar-free Monsters. That's what I'm going to do. So now I feel like I've become somewhat of a connoisseur of energy drinks as yourself. And we've talked a lot about the rankings of our energy drinks. And I'm just going to give you my top 3. I'll give you a quick top 5. So I go with the purple Monster. These are all Monsters. I'm only going to the Monster Ultras, the sugar-free ones. So you go purple, which is grape, blue, which is kind of like a blue raspberry, probably the Rosa, which is like the pinkish one that we've talked about, watermelon, which is a newer flavor, which is delicious, and then man, I do like the red one. The red one's like a fruit punch. That one's delicious. That 5th spot kind of could rotate. I don't know. I could go a bunch of different directions with that 5th spot. I'll tell you what's not there. Black cherry. Black cherry sucks. and so does the orange one. Orange one's not good either. Now, that being said, if someone gave me a free one, I will not decline. I will drink it, but I'll never buy it on my own.
No, that's I agree with. I haven't seen the black cherry one. Orange one's trash. I remember last time I drank that, I was doing a road trip down to Santa Clara, and so I just brushed my teeth, and then you put that on top of that at like 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not a
Oh,
good combo.
no,
It
not
made
at
me sick
all.
to my stomach. Don't do that. Just don't drink it. Like you said, if someone offers it to you, you can't be rude. You have to take it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not my favorite. I think my ranking would go something like, I do really like that Rosa one. It's like a grapefruit,
Yeah.
like a mild grapefruit. That one's
Yeah.
really refreshing. I would say
Yep.
that one, probably the green one, the green apple, or
I
green
forgot about
apple,
that.
or I'm not sure what it
It
is.
tastes like apple, but I think it's like cucumber. I mean, it's something weird, but it tastes like apple
Mhm.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think I like the purple one.
Purple's
I
so
think
good.
those are probably my top three.
They don't even taste like they don't have sugar in them. They all taste like they're very sweet and full of sugar, but they don't, and they're delicious. And I'm trying right now to stop. And then here's what happens. Every time I say, okay, I need to take a break from the energy drinks for a while, and I commit to that, and then the next day you text me and you're like, hey, they have a pineapple flavor, brand new. I'm like, well, I've got to try it. I have to try it. So then it becomes the hunt for the pineapple one, which we tried and was pretty good. It's too early to tell where that one ranks, but it is pretty tasty. Ultra gold. So I would recommend that one as well. If
They
people
get
out
us
there.
with the twofer deals, because just in my dumb brain, it's just like, well, if it's they advertising a twofer, a threefer, like I need to buy those because it's a deal.
Right.
So that's how
Right.
that's how the marketing gets you. It's and the pricing. So
Right.
no, I have a like a running appointment with the gas station down the street. Like they know me by face. They're just like,
Yeah.
oh, which ones are going today? It's like, and
Yeah.
I'm still mad because ever since I started at my work, it's been a couple years now. Like my only grievance with the building is they don't have a vending machine, whereas my previous
Oh,
employer they did. So
yeah.
like it was good and bad in that I could just stroll down and get a Monster or Rockstar. Now they
Right.
don't have anything, which is just it's ludicrous. So
That's tough.
I think maybe one of the suites does. So at some point I need to start charming or seducing some ladies so that I can get in and try and get some some energy drinks that they have in their vending machine.
Seducing some ladies. Just make sure they don't listen to this podcast. That probably will not help your cause.
Well, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. um, I thought of this story, and I think you and I were involved in this story. It involves as you mentioned, gas stations. Um, when we were going down to Pismo Beach as a family, and we were with one of our aunts. One of our aunts was driving with us, and we stopped at this gas station to use the restroom and get some snacks and some drinks. And so our first stop was we went, and was this you? Were you
Yeah.
in line for? Okay, it was you. So we get in line for the restroom, and the reason there was a line for the restroom was, a lot of times you have these gas stations that have single user restrooms, right? Not all of them, but there's a lot of them, especially on the road, that seem to have that, and they'll have two. And this specific one had two restrooms, and one was for men and one was for women, right? And this one happened to be, it wasn't a single person user, but when we got there, we thought they were single person user bathrooms because there was this line. It's like, why is there such a long line? Well, come to find out that one of the bathrooms was, supposedly we thought it was closed, right? And so there's this long line. So we get to the front of the line, and our aunt comes out and she says, hey, just so you know, that bathroom is not working. So you'll need to go into this bathroom here, which is the women's restroom. And we're like, okay, cool. You and I go in there, and as we're, using the bathroom, all of a sudden we see a woman's head pop in, kind of like, oh, there's two men in here. Our aunt decided to play a trick on us. I don't know what the deal was, because we saw a dude walk, like when we left the women's restroom, we saw a dude walk out of the men's restroom. It was like, oh, well played, Aunt Dot. You got us.
And it wasn't even it was a young kid. So and like
Yeah.
there's still a remaining line in there. So we got out. There's three or four women just staring at us. Why are you in there? And
Right.
all of a sudden, just like just the moments collided, and we just see this little kid walk out, just finish washing his hands. It's like, oh, Yeah, she got, and we didn't have, we just didn't expect that from the aunt. Like she was a funny lady, and
Yeah,
now we look back, it's like it's not out of the realm of possibility that she'd play a practical joke on us. But like at that up to that point, there was no joking around really. She was kind of
right.
talking to my mom or my aunt more, my other aunt more so. So it was just kind
Yeah,
of shocking, and it's like, oh,
yeah. But
you
then you
know,
saw her through the window, and she was just laughing. It's like, oh, well played. You
yeah,
got us. You got us both. Yeah, no, we definitely have a couple other stories that involve her that are pretty funny. Uh, I'm not going to repeat on the air one specifically. I won't repeat, but that was just a funny moment that I remember when you mentioned the gas station situation.
yeah,
Um, so let's do this. Let me read one more of the tweets. Let me
okay.
see. Actually, here's another one. Actually, I'm gonna read a couple more. This one was good. Anyone else grow up thinking Billy Blank's actual name was Taibo and he named his program after himself, just changing the spelling to match the Taekwondo boxing combination? Hashtag Taibo.
Yeah,
That's true.
no, I think it's those new commercials that he has on.
Yep, I think so.
Because those just popped up recently, and it's like one of those things. Like I thought for basically up to 25, like I thought his name was just like TYE and then Bo, and then he just happened to be a karate guy, and he just like it just like oh it just hit him like, hey, marketing, let's do what TAIBO or something like that,
Sounds
TAE
right. T A
TAE.
E. Yeah, T A E.
And so I
Yeah,
thought it was just clever marketing and just a coincidence that his name was Ty and Tybo and that's the name of the program. But it's like, oh, that's embarrassing. And it's like one of
right.
those things like I sometimes I need to make sure I'm not the only one that thought that. I know growing up as a young kid, we lived next to the boardwalk, the bar concert venue, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And whenever I'd see the beach boardwalk commercials on TV, I thought they were the same thing. I was like, and it just shows you how stupid I am. It's like, how do they get? I don't see a roller coaster. Like, I feel like this is bad advertising because this thing's kind of
Yeah.
it's a small venue, and I don't see people
Where's the
in.
Ferris wheel?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where's the Ferris wheel? This doesn't look like that much fun.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it's just completely different. So
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I can't say I thought the same thing, but I get why you would think that for sure. You're used to seeing that
yeah,
boardwalk sign all the
like I
time.
said, that didn't last till 25. That was like, I don't know. I figured that out fairly young, but still, it's always kind of on the back of my mind growing up.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? When I was at one of the last times I was at the boardwalk in Santa Cruz, so we're just walking through there, and there's a game where you basically it's this long alley type thing, and people are shooting tennis balls from like these big like bazooka type guns at these targets that are kind of downrange, and there was one kid that was working there and he was kind of loading everything up, and there was his dad with two kids that were getting ready to do it. Well, the dad was kind of looking to the left talking to his other young kid, and while he was talking to that kid, his other son hopped up on the platform and decided to press the trigger of the gun. It was probably half a foot from just doming the worker point blank. And you look at how hard those tennis balls are shot out of those cannons, like, oh, that would have given that guy CTE for sure. He would have been a goner. And it's like you saw his eyes like, oh, because this like smoke just went past his face. He saw the tennis ball fly past, and then the dad's like, what are you doing to his kid? It's like, I'm glad it didn't happen, but if it did happen, I mean, it would have been amazing.
You would have not laughed. I mean,
I would have had to, well, very much, very similar to your story about the person you were talking about earlier in the getting in bed with her mom. You're hearing that story, you can't really laugh, but you definitely want to.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, boardwalk,
Those things are loud. Like you walk by. I went a couple years ago, and you hear the pop against and it's like they juice that thing up.
yeah. I mean, it gets there. I mean, I don't know what the miles per hour is, but it sounds harder than when you go to like a batting cage and it hits the back of the cage. Like it sounds harder than that. Like it's really flying.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that kid probably saw his life flash before his eyes. I mean, it was it was almost a catastrophic situation, because like literally he was like bending down to pick up another tennis ball. And then as he turned back, he was about half a foot away from just getting domed. So yeah. Anyways, that would have been tragic. Luckily, the kid's still there. I don't know if he's still working at the Santa Cruz, but after that day, he may not. He's like, you know what? This is not worth it. I'm not working here anymore.
You gotta have your head on a swivel.
Got to have your head on a swivel at all times. Okay, so last one. Oh, I just had it. I lost it. Hold on. Okay, I like this one. This is good. Okay, if I were a divorce attorney, I would definitely hand my business card out to people leaving Costco. Something in the samples makes middle-aged couples bicker nonstop, making the general public very uncomfortable.
Yeah, that happened a couple weeks ago. Like everywhere you turn, you just have like these couples, like of every ethnicity. Just you could just tell they're just bickering, and that's maybe their third stop of the day.
Yeah,
And they're just really close to killing each other. Like they're bickering over how many slices of bacon to get.
yeah,
It's just very strange. You have the guy that grown man gets lost, can't find his wife and kids, and it's like,
right.
oh, he's still at that the the peanut butter samples, and he's just going to town on those. So it's very strange. And like I said, it's just where I feel like marriages go to die is if you go to Costco together. Like you need to really be on your A game, like in terms of communication, and because I feel like just even the simplest things just set people off. Like I said, like you could be a divorce attorney and start getting clients like in bulk. Like you get toilet paper in bulk there. You also get divorces in bulk there. So I don't know what it is, but it's every single, time. It's like there are two guarantees at Costco. Is like people are going to be going in all sorts of directions in like kind of the free spaces, and you're going to have that middle-aged couple bickering while their kids are shoving Go-Gurts up their butts. I don't know.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, and especially obviously, I think this goes without saying, but especially the closer you get to the holidays, it gets even worse because you look at any of the Costco's around this area. When you drive past or when you go to one during Christmas time or even this is not holiday, but the Super Bowl, which just happened a couple of days ago, it is a madhouse. And I feel like then you have that exact situation that you're talking about where people are just upset with each other. People are not happy. They're getting upset at their kids because their kids are going wild. And and like you said, they're trying to navigate these massive carts full of food and toilet paper and all that stuff around people who aren't paying attention, which is the worst. Costco is the worst place for people not to pay attention. You can get run over very quickly because those carts are so big and like everybody's in a rush. So yeah, that makes sense. Maybe they can start handing out those business cards at the end, right before you leave the Costco, where they try to sell you vacation deals and tires and all that stuff. Maybe they just have a guy there that's like, hey, sounds like things are going rough. Maybe we fix it by splitting
like the cars, like between the exits and the cars.
Yeah, because here's the thing, and I don't. This is not scientifically proven, but I feel like this is the case where, as people are leaving Costco and as they're in line and as they're finishing up their trip in the store, things are a little bit tense. But I do feel like the food court is usually pretty peaceful. I mean, people are pretty, happy because they're getting their soft serve ice cream or they're getting their slice of pizza or their $1 hot dog. So the divorce lawyer has definitely got to catch them before they make it to the food court. Because if they make it to the food court, there's, a chance of peace.
Yeah, for the most part, I think families are safe in the food court. I know you and I have had bad experiences in the food court.
Oh, you mean where they forgot our pizza?
Yeah, it took them. Multiple. It was close to an hour, and I think it was problematic. And I'm surprised I didn't tweet about that because that was that was a rough day for you and I because we were just getting passed over by several people who ordered after us with bigger orders. Like we didn't have a big order. We had two pizzas and there was like I don't know if maybe our little brother screwed that girl over too, and like maybe that's why we're getting our pizzas. But like there was some personal vendetta for the people I had no clue about, and they just wouldn't give us our pizza.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say there was that woman who was like 5'0" that ordered probably
8.
two or three people after us, and she ordered 8 pizzas, and like the stack of pizzas that she had was bigger than her, and she was carrying them out, and we saw her get the pizzas. Like, all right, something's going on here. They forgot our pizzas because we definitely saw a couple of pizzas go to other people, and we're like, you know what? I feel like I could have swore that was our pizza, but it went past us. I think they forgot our order, and they tried to play it off. Here's the other thing too: the guy that they had at the counter trying to explain stuff to people was not the guy you wanted at the counter because he was too friendly. And then he was like, "It's all good, right?" Like, no, it's not all good. I've been here for a long time. We need our pizza, man. But he was like, he was kind of like one of those guys, like, "Hey, everything's cool, life's good," and was trying to make the best of the situation. But he was not reading the room. You know what I mean? He definitely didn't realize that people wanted to fight him, and we weren't the only ones. There was a couple other people that were much bigger and much you could tell much more aggressive than we were that weren't getting their pizza either. And so he was definitely playing with some fire that day because it's like, you know what? You got a hostile crowd, bro. You better figure this out.
Yeah, and I feel like it's telling, like, if you and I get upset, because usually we're pretty laid back, like we don't get upset like at service workers, like that's just not who we are.
Right.
And
No.
we played it cool. It wasn't like we were angry or anything, but it's like if we're getting frustrated, like that there are people with shorter fuses at the end of the workday that are, you know, they're the people that you want to get your iPhone ready because they could say or do something that's going to end up on like World Star or something.
Exactly. Yep. So uh yeah, but I guess he survived. He got people who got pizzas, and so it was all good. But yeah, Costco is potentially a dangerous place. You got to be careful at Costco for sure. So anyways, that was the last tweet that I am going to read today. We'll save some of the other ones for next time you're on the show. Um, but before we get out of here, as always, we always have the connection suggestion, where basically the whole goal of this podcast is to make people a little bit more connectable. And so we like to toss out suggestions that are either either a brand, an organization, a restaurant, a person that we feel like everybody should be aware of. And so, we obviously like to have conversations, and hopefully this is kind of brings people together and we can have some fun conversations, but we also like to give a practical step as well, where people can follow someone else who's doing some awesome things. So, Jordan, do you have your connection suggestion today?
Yeah, like I said, this was all very last minute. So
Sorry.
I want to give someone that's a little bit more local. I texted this guy a couple weeks ago about something, a different situation, and he was just super helpful. So I wanted to give him a shout out. It's a friend from a buddy from high school, Chris Cardoso. He runs a photography business. He does his own freelance photography stuff. So if you're in the wedding, engagement, just regular portraits business, like he would be the guy to go to. That's not, I've never gotten, this is probably a bad plug, but I've never gotten it from him, but I just know type of guy he is, super smart, super hardworking, real high character guy. So it's not like you're gonna get screwed over by him. He's gonna have fair prices. So I definitely give him a shout out because, like I said, he helped me out with some business stuff, and I think, like I said, super smart, and I just imagine everything he touches is just really good work. So I'd imagine he's pretty good at that stuff. So I would, like I said, if you need photos or wedding photos, engagement photos, he can definitely hook you up. I would go to his website, www.cardoso.com.
Awesome. Very cool. I just lost it. I had one. So I'm going to do a couple. One I thought was pretty cool. So as I've mentioned on this podcast before, I grew up in Orangevale and still live near Orangevale. So one thing that I thought was pretty cool was the Orangevale Food Bank has been doing this thing the last couple of weeks where it's called Dinner on Us. And they have a couple of different things. I think they have there's three different options. I want to explain this the best I can so it doesn't get too confusing. So basically they're trying to support some local restaurants in the Orangevale area, and also they want to support people who are maybe going through a difficult time. So there's three different options. One, if you've had a kind of a tough time and maybe dinner and meals are a little bit more challenging for you and your family, you can order up to 4 meals and the community foundation will actually pick up the tab for that. So that's pretty cool. So if you find yourself in that situation, you can definitely reach out to them. For that, there's also, a situation where you might want to just purchase a meal for somebody. If you're, maybe you're doing okay financially and you just want to donate and maybe hook up a family or a person or, a couple that is maybe struggling a little bit more that could use a meal, then you can just donate to them as well. And so they're on Instagram, it's at OV Food Bank. I was actually looking into ways to donate, and I had to just send something their way because their link was broken because it said OV Food Bang, not Orangevale Food Bank. So I had to like, hey,
It's
I think
separate organization
that's probably going to make, it's probably going to donate to a different cause. So we want to make sure we donate to the right cause. So like I said, OV Food Bank. So if you live in that community and like I said, you're either maybe looking for a meal because things have been a little bit tough, or if you want to just hook someone up and bless a family that's out there, that'd be a cool thing. And then, so that's an organization that I think would be really cool to get connected with. The other person, I'm going to suggest a person, I'm going to do two today, is our friend from the Character Combine podcast, Lauren Johnson. She is a mental conditioning coach, and she was formerly with the New York Yankees as their mental conditioning coach. And just recently, she announced that she left the Yankees to kind of pursue her own thing. So I think she does speaking. She obviously does a lot of great stuff on social media where she's sharing, thoughts and things that will help with your mindset. So she's constantly putting out some awesome content. So I would definitely recommend following her on Instagram. And I believe that is Lauren Nicole Johnson. Let me just double check. We always put this stuff in our post. Yeah, Lauren Nicole Johnson. I would definitely recommend that because she puts out a lot of good stuff, not just for athletes, but for anybody who's trying to improve their mindset. So there we have it. That was a fun episode. We just shot from the hip, hope for the best, and worked out pretty well. I don't think there's too much on this one that we can get in trouble for.
Oh, someone will find something.
Probably. So if you guys want to follow us, you can follow us on Instagram at Connectable Podcast, Twitter at Connectable Pod, Facebook at Connectable Podcast, on YouTube at Connectable Podcast. And that's pretty much it. And then as always, make sure you check us out on all of the social media, podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to podcasts, make sure you check it out. And if you would be so inclined, please give us a 5-star review because it helps us be more visible to people. And that would be awesome. So that being said, I think anything else you want to say, Jordan? Anything before we get out of here?
No, I think I said it all.
Oh, where do we follow you?
Oh, at Jordan Takimoto.
Yep, on both Twitter and Instagram. Go like his stuff. He posts a lot of awesome shots. I hate him for it, but he does post a lot of awesome shots. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, do that.
Yeah, do that. All right, you guys. We'll talk to you later. See ya. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.